Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of New York City, cars everywhere. Millions of people are moving around you. Lights, noise, subway trains rumbling under your feet. One of the busiest cities on earth. But what if I told you that beneath all of that, there is another world? A world most people walking above never even think about. Not just empty tunnels, not just forgotten infrastructure, but people, real people, living there, sleeping there, building small communities in the dark spaces under the city. Hello and welcome back to Bookworm. Today we're exploring The Mole People by Jennifer Toth, a book that uncovers something both fascinating and uncomfortable. Beneath New York streets, there are miles of tunnels. Some were built for trains, some were built for maintenance, some were abandoned decades ago, and over time, some of those spaces became home. Jennifer Toth spent years investigating stories about people living underground. At first, many people thought these stories were exaggerated, urban legends, but the deeper she looked, the more she discovered that something very real was happening beneath the city. Communities had formed. Shelters were built from scrap materials. People developed routines, friendships, even small systems of survival, all beneath one of the most modern cities in the world. What makes this story powerful is not just the shock of discovering a hidden underground society. It's the reminder that even in places we think we fully understand, there are entire realities we never see. Stay with me until the end because this story isn't just about tunnels. It's about survival, invisibility, and the strange ways humans adapt when they're pushed outside the systems most people depend on. Before we go deeper into this hidden world, like the video, subscribe to Bookworm, and let's explore one of the most unusual stories ever documented beneath a modern city.
You ever hear those stories? The urban legends that whisper about this city beneath the city? About people who live their entire lives down in the darkness under New York streets? People who've adapted so well to the dark that they can see without light, and they move like ghosts through these abandoned tunnels. Okay, let's really get into this, because underneath all that spooky legend, there's a human reality that is, well, it's complex and it's pretty startling. So, the people who live in this hidden world, they often get slapped with this one sensational label: the mole people. It's a term that just conjures up these freakish images, right? Like some kind of animal-like creatures, something less than human. It's a label that people on the surface use, sometimes even other homeless people, really just to create some distance. But as we're about to see, that label hides a truth that is way more challenging and a whole lot more human. And that, right there, is the entire point of this. We're trying to get past the myth. This quote from Jennifer Toth, she's the author of the book The Mole People, it just sets up our mission perfectly. We're going to peel back all those layers of legend and look at the real lives, the real communities, and the very real reasons people build a home in what has to be one of the most hostile environments you can possibly imagine. All right, so let's start the descent. To even begin to understand the people, first we have to understand the place itself. And we're not just talking about a few forgotten subway stops here. No, this is a vast, sprawling underworld that, in a way, mirrors the complexity of the city right above it. This picture, it really just hammers home the sheer scale and the raw industrial feel of this world. This isn't just one tunnel. Underneath Manhattan, the bedrock is just honeycombed with this interconnected lattice of subway tunnels, railroad tunnels, utility tunnels. Some are still active, but a lot of them have been abandoned for decades. In some spots, this whole network plunges 7 distinct levels below the streets. It is a sprawling, hidden city of concrete and steel, a forgotten piece of infrastructure that's become a last refuge. And get this, that's not a line from some sci-fi movie. That's a direct quote from Sergeant Brian Henry of the Transit Police. He was the officer in charge of homeless outreach in Grand Central Station. He wasn't talking about pipes and cables. He was talking about people who had made their homes down there. He meant the boroughs, the encampments, the communities that exist in this huge dark space. Just try to imagine living here for a second. It is a total assault on your senses. The air is thick, it's oppressive. You've got the constant, rhythmic dripping of water. Every step you take is punctuated by this sickening crunch of roaches under your feet. And the rats, unlike on the surface, they don't run away from you. They move in these dark waves towards you. And the smell, officers have said it's so searing, it can actually knock you out. It's a world of just stagnant blackness where the only light you might see for days is a tiny little sliver coming from a grate way, way above. So the huge question is, why? Why would anybody choose to live in a place like that? Well, this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Back in the 80s and 90s, New York got hit by a perfect storm. You had the crack epidemic, the AIDS crisis, a serious lack of affordable housing, and the long-term fallout from deinstitutionalization, which basically put thousands of people from mental health facilities out on the street with very little support. The city's shelters were totally overwhelmed, and frankly, they were often really dangerous. So for some, the world above ground became even more dangerous than the one below. So let me just walk you through a story that kind of reflects the real experiences of so many down there. Picture a man living on the streets. 3 nights ago, his best friend stabs him and robs him. 2 nights ago, he goes to a city shelter hoping for a little safety, only to get attacked there too. Then last night, he's trying to sleep in a doorway, and he gets beaten senseless by a group of kids. They call him worthless, a leech, an animal. So tonight, wounded, terrified, he stumbles into the mouth of a dark tunnel, and he thinks to himself, how can this place possibly be more dangerous than the streets? For him, it isn't. He's found a home. And that just perfectly lays out the grim math of survival, doesn't it? The decision to go underground, it isn't about choosing danger. It's about choosing a different kind of danger. You're escaping the immediate, constant threat of human cruelty on the surface, and you're trading it for the environmental hazards and the isolation of the tunnels. It is, for many, a rational choice in a completely irrational world. And this is where the story takes a turn you would just not expect. Because people don't just survive in the tunnels, they build societies. Far from being this chaotic collection of isolated individuals, the underground is actually home to some pretty complex and organized communities. It makes sense, right? Out of this primal need for security, people band together. And these aren't just random groups. Some of them are highly structured communities with elected mayors to settle disputes, and they have designated runners who are brave enough to go to the surface to shuttle food, medicine, and news between the different encampments. They form these groups to protect themselves, not just from the rots and the cold, but from other people, both outsiders who might wander in and the dangers from within their own world. Just listen to that quote from Bernard, a longtime resident of the tunnels. There's no shame there at all. There is pride. We're the elite. He is drawing a thick, clear line between the people wandering the streets above and his community below. He's talking about agency, about choosing to build something, about creating a life and a home on their own terms. That's an incredibly powerful statement of identity and independence, especially when you think about the hardship they face. Now, what's so fascinating about this slide is the contrast. On the right, you see a simple chair, a symbol of what we think of as a conventional home. But on the left, that is the home of a tunnel resident named John. Look closely. His walls are decorated with posters. He's got little statues and artificial flowers he found in the trash. The whole room is lit with candles. He shares the space with his dog, Mama, and 15 cats, all strays that he took in. This isn't just a place to sleep. It's a home. It speaks to this profound, unbreakable human instinct to create a space of your own, to find beauty and companionship even in the deepest, darkest places. But you have to understand, this entire community is built on a paradox. It's a life lived right on a razor's edge, and it's defined by both constant, extreme danger and an equally powerful human resilience. The dangers are so visceral, and they are always there. One misplaced foot can mean instant death on the electrified third rail. Trains just appear out of the darkness with terrifying speed. There's violence from outsiders, and there's infighting within the groups. Disease runs rampant. Track workers even have this grim, dehumanizing joke. They call the residents chuds. It stands for cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers from an old horror movie. But then, against all of that, you find these incredible pockets of humanity. Food and resources get shared. There are unwritten rules, a code of conduct. There's a real sense of belonging, protection from the even greater dangers of the street, and genuine moments of friendship and care. But let's be really clear. Resilience does not mean you're invulnerable. The physical toll of this life is just brutal. Health officials estimate that the life expectancy for someone living in the tunnels is only 3 to 5 years. A common cold can turn into lethal pneumonia. Hypothermia, diabetes, overdoses, violence, death is a constant neighbor. This is not a sustainable way of life. It's a desperate, short-term strategy just to survive. Okay, so let's bring this all back up to the surface. What does the existence of this world below tell us about the world above? Well, the most profound lesson might be about what and who we all choose not to see. This is such a critical idea to grasp. Many of the tunnel dwellers feel this profound sense of social isolation. They're not only detached from mainstream society, many of them feel superior to, or at the very least separate from, the homeless community on the streets. They've gone a step further, physically removing themselves from a world that had already made them invisible. They have become outcasts in a world of outcasts. You know, Ralph Ellison wasn't writing about homeless people, but his words from Invisible Man, wow, they just perfectly capture that psychological wound of being unseen. His main character literally goes to live in a hole in the ground because he says it honestly reflects his social invisibility. This ache, this need to be recognized, to have someone confirm that you exist, it is a powerful human need. And when society refuses to see you, that's a wound that goes so much deeper than hunger or cold. And that really just leaves us with this final lingering question. For the people in the tunnels, the answer is a community in the dark, a place where they are seen by each other, even if the world above has completely forgotten them. It forces us to ask, what is a home? Is it just four walls and a roof, or is it the place you feel you belong, the place where, finally, you are no longer invisible?
One of the most surprising things about the mole people isn't simply that people lived beneath New York City, it's how easy it was for the rest of the city to not notice. Millions of people above, entire communities below, two worlds separated by just a few layers of concrete. Jennifer Toth's investigation shows something fascinating about cities. We often think of them as fully mapped, fully understood environments, every street labeled, every neighborhood documented. But cities also contain invisible spaces, forgotten infrastructure, unused tunnels, and people who exist outside the systems most of us rely on. For many of the individuals living underground, the tunnels weren't just shelters. They became a strange kind of society. People shared food, they protected certain areas, they created rules and informal communities in places never designed for human life. And while the conditions were often harsh and dangerous, the story also reveals something deeply human: our ability to adapt, to create structure even in chaos, to build connection even in isolation. The tunnels beneath New York became a reminder that human life doesn't always follow the structures society expects. People find ways to survive, even in the most unlikely environments. If this story surprised you, tell me in the comments. Did you know communities like this existed beneath major cities? And if you enjoy exploring books that reveal hidden worlds, strange histories, and powerful human stories, make sure you like the video and subscribe to Bookworm, because sometimes the most fascinating stories are not the ones everyone talks about. They're the ones hidden just beneath the surface.